to All Seasons Podcast. I'm your host, LoLo, a nurse, rainbow mama, holistic health nerd, and entrepreneur. This isn't your typical podcast. Some episodes are raw and juicy conversations, and others are mindful practices that will leave you encouraged. Together, we're creating a space that bridges the gap between black and white faith and the gray of real life. We will explore all things in all seasons of life, from loss, mental health, faith, motherhood, and holistic wellness. Come as you are, my friend. Let's jump right in. Welcome to the final episode of season 1 of the All Seasons podcast. I'm coming at you live from where I always do, my office in my basement. And some of you guys probably already know this, but I just broke my foot recently. And I think it's kind of funny that, well, funny, not funny, that I wanted to close out season 1. And you're catching this if you're listening. It's in the end of December. It's December 22nd now that I'm recording. And, you know, as the year comes to a close and the winter season is upon us, Winter Solstice just happened last night, just really reflecting on this invitation to slow down. And gosh, by breaking my foot, the last 2 weeks have looked very, very different. My pace of life has changed dramatically. And it's just been this deeper and richer invitation for me to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is kind of just diving into the wisdom of winter. And I know that for so many of us, especially that have grown up in, the evangelical church, there is a separation between nature's cyclical seasons and how we actually relate to them. So here at All Seasons Soul Care and on this podcast, we talk about the nature or the natural cycles that God, the divine, has created and the wisdom that's within those things, right? And within those seasons and how God's character is reflected in that and what we can learn. And so let's talk about what the invitations are for winter and how this reflects the character of God and maybe what God's calling you to do right now. So winter is a season of letting go and calling in. So it's this both and. Winter really holds this expression of it's both and. There is this polarity of both death and rebirth of life. So yes, winter is a time to let go and retreat and recharge. And at the same time, it's also a time to call in and tend to the dreams in our hearts of our next harvest. So if you were to think of your life as a plot of land, right, as a farm, so to speak, the winter is a time in our hearts where we get to tend back to the soil, where we just reaped all of this wonderful harvest in the summer and mostly in the fall season, right? And so the winter time, things start to get quiet. And we need to kind of like weed out and rip up the roots from this last harvest, tend to the soil a little bit, and then it goes dormant for some time. There's even some seeds that need to be planted right now in order for them to come to fruition in the springtime. And I love how God and nature echoes that. And so the invitation is, what are you letting go of? Like, what do you need to clear out of your heart? What do you need to clear out of your life right now? What things do you need to shed or release? Maybe it's identities, old narratives, patterns, jobs, relationships. Like, what things are you feeling like God's wanting and needing you to prune out of your field? And then also, once you sit with that, and I'll put some journal prompts in the show notes for you guys to kind of reflect deeper on this, but, kind of letting go, but also welcoming in, right? It's also a time where we get quiet and where we reflect and we ask what the next harvest could look like, right? Because we don't want to show up in spring and just wing it. Winter is the time where you get to sit around the fire, so to speak, with other people and talk about what worked and what didn't this year, right? And you get to have the opportunity to come together and talk with yourself, commune with God, commune with others, and talk about what are you calling in? What are you inviting in your next season, in the springtime, in the next year, the new year, so to speak. Um, it's interesting. There's this invitation in the letting go part where we get to gracefully rebel against like the bigger, the better, and the more narrative from the world, right? There's one that is opposing in our innate natural rhythms of retreat and recharge that we have right now. So, I know that bigger and better and fancier things can sometimes be the shiny thing. With Christmas coming up, I know as a mom, I can relate, right? Doing the most, making sure that your elf on the shelf is like the funniest thing that your kids have ever seen. It just the list goes on with all of the expectations we place on ourselves. But what would it look like to really rebel against the bigger, better, and more narrative from the world right now and really kind of slow down and allow ourselves to get in sync with the natural rhythms right now of retreat and recharge? And the calling in aspect, right? The dreaming, the communing, the talking with God and with other people about what you want to call in for this next year, for this next spring, right? When you get back to work after this season, it's really a matter of just getting quiet and dreaming again. Our next harvest must really first be cultivated in our hearts. And just like nature, the seeds of our harvest must absorb the nutrients of the soil in solitude and stillness before they burst forward. And so I don't know who you are, where you're listening right now, but I really genuinely believe that this next little nugget, this word is for somebody right now. You are worth slowing down for. And your dreams are also worth slowing down for. So take this time this winter to slow down, yoke with the wisdom of winter, and release what no longer serves you. Let go and also welcome in and invite in the dreams that you have stirring in your heart. Sift through your soil. Really allow those nutrients to flow in right now this winter with stillness and solitude. So whatever that looks like for you, I just hope that this little send off, this is the last episode of season 1, allows you to really sink in and take in all the lessons that you've learned in this season and in this year. Before I go, I want to mention if this is landing for you and you're wanting to get a little deeper into the rhythms of winter, don't know if you guys know this, but I actually have seasonal programs or seasonal guides that you can actually download. And the Winter Solstice guide is up, and I actually have a really screaming deal now through the end of this year. If you happen to catch this before 2025, it's normally $22. You can get it for half off. So it's only $11 with the code WINTER50. And I'll link this in the show notes as well so you guys can download this if you'd like. But what's inside? I have a 30-minute winter slow flow video, help you really slow down and get into those winter rhythms. There's also a 10-minute guided winter nature walk audio. So basically an audio where I'm in your ear, you get to go outside in nature and there's a little somatic winter experience you get to go through. There's a lot of embodiment practices for calling in and letting go. There's some journal prompts. There's some cozy recipes. You guys know I love to cook and bake, so I have some of my favorite recipes in there, and also some home rituals for you guys to get nice and cozy, and then a winter playlist for you guys to listen to as well. So it's only $11 with Winter 50. Go ahead and grab that, snag it, and really get into the wisdom of this season. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a listener. Season 1 was an absolute joy. It's an honor to be in your headphones while you're washing the dishes or driving your car. It's just such an honor. And I'd love to hear, if you're listening, what you thought of this season. What were your favorite episodes? Go ahead and DM me on Instagram, shoot me a message. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and write a review. Give us that 5 stars, write a review. That allows more people to listen in and discover this podcast that we're just getting started. I already have so many things in the works for season 2. It's going to be so good. So I will see you guys in early 2025. And I hope that you have a beautiful holiday season. And I'm wishing you all the best. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the new year. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the All Seasons podcast. I hope today's episode lit you up with inspiration and illuminated your path with clarity. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please share with a friend. And also be sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. You can stay connected with me over at Instagram at LoLo Pause or A Soulful Sorrow. May you find your soul shine in all seasons. Until next time.